again. It doesn't look as if it's, the picture hasn't come up. Oh, there it goes. A very good evening, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH at 286, Patricia and David. And it's actually a reasonably decent evening here. It's a bit cold, 16 degrees, 100% cloud cover, but only 5 knots of northeast, 1026 on the bar. Well, we've got, it's kind of a confusing picture here tonight because a lot of boats have changed their mind about coming to New Zealand. We've still got a few on the way. Wind shift about an hour ago. They were motoring in light winds, believe it or not, down at 31 degrees 45 south and 17459 east. Very light southeasterly winds. That will change. 4.8 speed on a course of 199 true. And Mintaka, for some reason Phil can't transmit, but he can copy. Hello to all on board who have battled through 3 days of 25 to 30 knots of wind, 2.5 to 3.5 metre swells, but at the moment things are somewhat more pleasant. 2536 south on the latest AIS, 17421, steering course of 174 true, 7.7. About 15 knots of wind, although he reported 18 to 22 before. 600 miles to Opua. So they're probably looking forward to lighter weather, but they're not going to get it. Anyway, there are a few boats have returned. Master Plan has gone back to wait for more gentle weather. Eagle's Wings, Jeanette, Whimsical, Tanit are still on their way to New Zealand, a bit further ahead than Mintaka and behind Windshift. And a very good evening to Rob and Charlene on Cambria in Vanuatu. They're patiently waiting. Just a lot of mess around for people to try and make up their minds what to do, and I'm not sure when I pass the microphone whether David's going to help or hinder. The charts are just looking so messy. So good luck, my dear, in terms of working out what should happen.
A lot of things are happening, as those of you who have just left Fiji and turned around know what's just happened. But I'll tell you what, we have a tremendous amount of activity up in the Southwest Pacific, and the MJO is not helping things at all. We've got a pretty active trough that runs right smack dab through the Solomon Islands. We have another trough that's running just south of Tuvalu. It runs east all the way to the northern Cooks. It takes almost takes into account Samoa. Not quite. Samoa is just a little bit to the south of the cloud action. Another trough, though, Wallace and Futuna are getting nailed. That trough is coming right down through Tonga and going down into Niue. And that's not funny either, that particular one. Then we've got another active trough, quite active trough, that's running from just to the southwest of Rotuma, cuts right through Fiji, smack dab, and continues on to the southeast to roughly, it gets down to 25 and probably about 165 west. So if you draw a line from the Fiji area down to what I just said, that's pretty much the axis of that trough. Another trough is in the southern Solomons, and that's running southeast, and it cuts right through Vanuatu, right through the center of the whole range of islands there in Vanuatu. Continues on to 25 south, and the dateline, I guess, is a good way to put it. A little bit further than the dateline, maybe 175. But anybody that's between, that has left, that is in between Fiji and 25 south, are in for quite a ride. It's not pleasant at all. Now, as I did yesterday, I took a quick look at a current passage from Fiji to New Zealand, and I just picked a run line, and we were looking at Saturday the 19th, assuming that there's a couple of days that you would get down to these points. So we looked at 25 south and we looked at 30 south. So still looking at Saturday the 19th and trying to see if the models have changed their minds, and not too much. The models today for that date, again the 19th, they're pretty much as follows. At 25 south, seas, we're looking at 4.5 meters, maybe close to 5 meters from the east. Now, these are dangerous seas, quite dangerous seas. Winds up to 40 knots east-southeast. That's 25 south. Now, if you made it down to 30 south, the sea's a little bit better, if you can call 3 meters better, and that is coming out of the east as well. The winds a little bit less, 25 to 30 knots, and they're coming out of the east as well. Now, these strong winds and seas are the result of simply a squash. The tropical depression, and one does look like it will have formed at that point, 20 south, 178 west. Then there's the high, a 1030 millibar high, and that's located on that date, the 19th, and that's 39 south and 172 west. So it's a big fat high, and it's pushing up against that tropical depression that is up there at 20 and 178. Now, over at Nuku'alofa, I know there's a lot of people that are there, as well as the Hapais and Vava'u. On that date, you're going to be looking at possibly 35 to 40 knots out of the east. Now, if you're up in the Hapais, the winds are going to be northeast, quite a bit less, and maybe north-northwest winds for Vava'u. So if you're looking at that, east winds at Nuku'alofa, northeast at Hapais, north-northwest in Vava'u, you can see the cyclonic circulation that's taking place at that time. And Patricia and I were talking, please don't have anyone tell us that you're going to begin a passage from either Fiji or Tonga to New Zealand on between now and those dates. It just isn't going to be worth it from what we can see at this point. Now, one other thing, I talked yesterday about the cold front hitting New Zealand on Tuesday, and the models have changed their mind on that. The depression is still in the Tasman. That hasn't changed. But the actual cold front itself seems to have stalled. So it's going to lay just to the west of New Zealand on that date. So if you're that far south and you do make it in that Tuesday time frame, that cold front is not going to be an issue for you. At least that's what they're saying now. And the way the models have been changing, I wouldn't be surprised that that changes as well. So that's the general picture for the Southwest Pacific, and I don't know what to tell you other than if you have not left, you may consider just staying where you are for a while and let this settle down, and it will. Looking way off into the future, I can see things basically settling down, and there's a pretty decent possibility of a reasonable passage at that time. And I'm not going to give you the time because I don't believe half of what I'm seeing on these models. By the way, EC now is putting out an AI version after you get past about 10 days of forecasting, and this is kind of interesting. I mentioned this in the past. In fact, somebody asked a question about it, I don't know, a week or so ago. And all they're doing is they're taking averages of what's happened in the past. It's not much different from, well, if you're an American or a Canadian, you've heard of the Farmer's Almanac. New Zealand has an almanac too for weather. And basically, those ones are taking averages over a 30-year period. So they're taking a specific day, every single one of those days for the past 30 years, and they're averaging it all out, and they're considering that the forecast. And quite frankly, they're right 50% of the time, and that is roughly the same as flipping a coin. So that's what I think of AI at this point. So if you're betting the mortgage on on AI forecasting, all the luck to you. Okay, if anybody has any questions, come now, and we'll continue to follow these developments up in the tropics. It's just not looking decent, and it's changing so rapidly that who knows what I will be talking about tomorrow. So for now, though, here's the chief.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not out there sitting waiting. I think, well, I was going to say I'd sort of disappear into the island chain, but then with the weather being such as it is, would be best just to hunker down. I forgot to mention that Flying Cloud has diverted to Newcastle. Did I mention that? As it does look like Babe and Medeg, the British boats, and also Swan New Zealand are doing the same thing. The only trouble with that of course, is that it's not such a good direction to leave from to get back to New Zealand. But anyway, it gives you some relief from the weather. All right, is there anybody wanting to do a radio check or anything else? I've got a message on streaming from Paolo and Anna, who are in French Polynesia at the moment, and they are leaving tomorrow for Panama, so it will be interesting to follow that trip. Quite a different trip weather-wise from the people trying to get south here. Mind you, going to Australia is a bit different. That's a problem of not enough wind. So yeah, we've got a bit of everything in the Southwest Pacific at the moment. Anyway, I am listening for anybody with anything.
And there's nobody with anything.
And there's nobody with anything. That's kind of a relief that no one's thinking of departing with this weather that we've got. And Mintaka, I know you are listening and able to listen. There are gaps in the satellite coverage for AIS, so every now and again, particularly if things get particularly ropey for you, it would be good to get a specific position from you, say mid-afternoon or like you did today, just in case there is no AIS and just in case there is a problem. So please do that, seeing as we haven't got live contact with you on the radio. Okay folks, we'll leave you be in your misery. Gosh, that rhymes. I must make a poem. And we will be back again tomorrow. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, clear, and the frequency's yours if you want to make contact with anybody. Cheers all. Yeah, no problem, Matt and Elizabeth. Good evening to you both. And yes, well, being the wily, experienced people that you are, you'll be just patiently waiting. I know there will be something nice for everybody. Cheers all.